You're listening to WBGU-FM 88.1 and HD1, Bowling Green, Ohio.
WBGU-FM is sponsored by Aardvark Screen Printing and Embroidery. Whether it's a business card holder for your desk, holiday gifts for employees, or promotional materials, Aardvark offers a wide variety of custom-made products for your business needs. Aardvark Screen Printing and Embroidery, a veteran-owned family business located at 123 South Main Street, Bowling Green, Ohio, and always open at aardvarkspe.com.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is me, your host, DJ Mick, and you are now turned into a Sherlock Summer. Not turned into, but tuned into. It's 4:01 p.m. this Sunday afternoon, and this is only the second time I've been doing this part of this thing of my show this whole summer, because one Sunday ago I was still at home, and 2 Sundays ago I was also still at home. I had my advising appointment, I had other things. I had to watch my brothers and the dog Arlo and things like that. So that's why I missed. And the first time I did this show this summer, at least, because we don't have the aux cord anymore, I had to burn everything to a CD. And for whatever reason, I think it's the length of the tracks that the two CD players in here will not play long things, and I have half-hour-long tracks, because the other tracks that I put on the same CD that are 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, they're ready to play, but the big, long Sherlock adventures are not. They are not playable. So today, I thought of an ingenious idea. I put the CD in the system. I loaded it into our automation system, where a bunch of our, stuff is held, and I'm going to be playing it from there. So I really hope that works. I have it queued up, so it should be working. So the first adventure we're going to listen to is the adventure of the Serpent God. And let me grab that. I took a picture of the tracks because I don't have it on my phone, because again, there's no aux cord in here. So the Adventure of the Serpent God is with John Stanley as Sherlock Holmes and Alfred Shirley as Dr. Watson. Yes, so I think we're going to listen to that one first. And I think I'll let it play. I'll play the appropriate things, but I think I'll just largely let this play and try and make it as uninterrupted and as like the real experience of listening to this on the radio as possible. So, without further ado, let's hope this works. This is the Adventure of the Serpent God here on WBGU FM.
From New York City, the makers of Clipper Craft Clothes for Men and 1,036 leading retail stores from coast to coast present the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Tonight's story, The Adventure of the Serpent God. And so here we are once again in Dr. Watson's cheerful book-lined study. But let's not keep our Sherlock Holmes fans waiting. What's tonight's adventure to be, Doctor?
Tonight, I think I'll tell you how Holmes prevented a bloodthirsty Hindu uprising. It all occurred because we unearthed the meeting place of an East Indian cult who worshipped the Serpent God.
Sounds promising.
Yes, it was a weird and unearthly setting for one of our most hair-raising encounters with that arch-criminal, the notorious Professor Moriarty.
Professor Moriarty. Sherlock Holmes always got a run for his money when he matched wits with Professor Moriarty. And that reminds me, if any of our friends and listeners are thinking of investing in a new spring suit or overcoat, I think we can safely promise them more than a run for their money if they'll take a look at the clothes that Clipper Craft is now showing in their favorite local store.
Right you are, Mr. Harris.
And, you'll get something else very important from the great Clipper Craft plan, besides remarkable quality and downright sensational value. You get uniformity. The assurance that every Clipper Craft suit, top coat, or sport jacket you buy is equal to all the others in smart appearance and performance. As you know, The Clippercraft plan concentrates the buying power of 1,036 of the nation's finest stores from coast to coast. Its operation is year-round, resulting in tremendous economies in manufacturing and distribution costs. And that's how you get fine-fitting, beautifully tailored, expensive-looking Clippercraft suits for only $40 and $45. Outstanding topcoats in fine coverts and worsted gabardine for only $40 and $45. And smart sport jackets for only $26.50. Take a look around. Compare Clippercraft with clothes selling for many dollars more. And now, Dr. Watson, back to Professor Moriarty and the adventure of the Serpent God.
Yes, Mr. Harris. It was latish one May evening in the early 1900s. I had been out on an emergency case and was returning in the soft spring twilight. As I reached 221B Baker Street, I looked up to see a light in the windows of our sitting room. Holmes' long, lank silhouette was pacing back and forth in the lamplight. From the nervous vitality of his movements, I gathered he was working on a new case. I let myself in the front door and bounded up the steps.
You what, Doctor?
Well, I hurried upstairs. Evening, Holmes. What's up?
A case, Watson. I'm expecting word from our latest client. Now, don't remove your hat and gloves. From his note, I gather he'll want us to go to him at once.
Oh, then it's urgent.
I suspect it's more than urgent, Watson. The stability of the Empire may well depend on our efforts tonight.
Oh, now, really, Holmes.
I'm not exaggerating, Watson. I leave that to you. However, I don't think anyone will underrate the unrest that's seething in India these days. The slightest spark may set off an explosion.
Granted, but how does that affect us?
As a matter of fact, my friend Hockey, you remember young Wells, Hartrider of the Foreign Office?
Naturally. He's the one who always looked as if he'd just swallowed his monocle.
Don't let that air of fatuous imbecility fool you, Watson. Hiding behind that simple facade is one of the most alert brains in England. Not counting my own, of course. Oh, conceit. That's why he's been assigned to the Maharaja.
Well, he'll have his hands full. Those East Indian potentates are a slippery lot. I wouldn't trust one around a corner with my second-best stethoscope.
Prejudice, Watson, pure prejudice. I met this one several years ago at the Royal Garden Party. Rather decent sort. We've corresponded ever since.
Holmes, you're wonderful. You know everything and everybody. Tell me about your Raja. Which one is he?
He's the Maharaja of Banjoram, a small, warlike mountain kingdom in the north of India.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, you've undoubtedly heard of the Banjoram stables. The Maharaja is interested in racehorses and higher education. He leads a rather quiet life in his villa outside of Paris, where the famous professors from the Sorbonne come to give him advanced lectures in private.
Sounds placid enough.
Quite. His life, I may say, was completely serene and uninteresting until his heir came to visit him.
Well, nothing abnormal about that. Sons frequently upset the even tenor of their father's ways.
Oh, but Prince Jinnah is not the Maharaja's son. He's his half-brother, different mothers and all that, you know. It wasn't until it became apparent that the Maharaja would never have a son of his own that anyone took any interest in this boy at all. I don't believe the Maharaja had even met him until he sent for him last autumn. He suddenly decided it was high time the lad became exposed to a British education.
Oh, poor devil. Imagine being suddenly chucked into the midst of an English public school after being pampered darling of a high-caste Indian household.
The Maharaja of Banjoram has some sense, Watson. He did not chuck him into a school, as you so inelegantly express it. He decided to break the boy in with a good tutor. Upon explaining his position to the Foreign Office, they decided the situation was sufficiently important to assign young Wells Hartrider to the post.
As the twig is bent.
Exactly. The Maharaja of Banjoram has always been quite well disposed toward our government. Unfortunately, that's more than can be said for some of the gentlemen who have managed to ease their way into high positions in his country.
How did the Maharaja and his young half-brother get along?
Very well indeed. That is, until 3 weeks ago, when Hartrider and the young prince had their first encounter with the dark-faced man with burning eyes. It was shortly after tea time. Harkey and the prince were just emerging from the Strand entrance of the Savoy Hotel, where they have a suite of rooms. Suddenly, a strange, ragged-looking man seized the prince and pressed his forehead to the back of the boy's hand.
Salutations, O true son of the father of all lizards. You followers await you. For you the god will speak. Do not fail him. Do not fail.
Who was that man, Gina?
I do not know, Mr. Harkrider. But you saw his eyes and his head. It moved from side to side like a great snake.
What's the matter, boy? You're trembling. Your hands are as cold as ice. Your hand. What is that mark on the back of your hand?
Aye! It is the sign.
Ever since then, Watson, the boy's been a nervous wreck. Harkrider says he looks positively haunted. Then, the night after the boy's encounter with a strange derelict, Harkrider woke in the night and found him missing from his bed.
Why not ask for police protection?
The Maharaja forbids it. Harkrider drew him the design he'd seen on the back of the boy's hand. The Maharaja apparently recognized its significance, but will tell Harkrider nothing. He says calling in the British authorities might very well cause another black hole of Calcutta.
Good Lord, Holmes, then it is serious.
That, my dear Watson, is the impression I've been trying to convey for the last half hour.
Did Harkrider's message explain what the symbol on the boy's hand looked like?
Yes, it's drawn here at the bottom of his letter.
A simple bit of cacography. Looks rather like the eye part of a large hook and eye.
It's not as innocent as that, Watson. It's the same mark that appears on the hood of the king cobra. In India, that's the symbol of the serpent god.
By Jove, I see what you mean, Holmes. Then you think the boy may be mixed up in some diabolical East Indian cult.
I fancy the mystery's even uglier than that. You remember the description of the beggar who left the symbol on the boy's hand?
Mm-hmm.
The burning eyes, the head that oscillated slowly from side to side.
Good heavens, that could be a description of Professor Moriarty. Oh, but you said his skin was dark.
There are many stains, Watson, that can be used to color a man's skin.
But why have they waited till now to call you in on the case? What makes you think Harkrider will be around tonight?
This little figurine. Beautifully carved, isn't it?
A fascinating bit of ugliness. The body of a man and the head of a cobra.
The cobra god again. It seems this carving was found on Prince Jinnah's bed when he returned from his afternoon's walk. Harkrider said the boy fainted dead away when he saw it.
Sounds sinister, eh, Holmes?
Harkrider told the Maharaja about the occurrence, of course. The Maharaja seems to think this figure's some sort of summons. He believes the boy will try to disappear again tonight. Consequently, Harkrider's sending a cab for us as soon as the boy retires. We're to pick him up at the embankment exit of the Savoy. Yes, I hear a carriage driving up to our curb. Don't forget your revolver, Watson. Aha! The game's afoot. The chase begins.
Holmes, we've been sitting out here in this blasted cab for over an hour. What's happened to Harkrider? What if the boy slipped out to the other entrance?
Calm yourself, Watson. Harkrider's stationed behind some potted palms in the lobby inside, where he can watch both doors.
And what if the boy decides to stay quietly in his little bed? I say, Holmes, that's the third time that policeman has flashed his lantern at us. First thing you know, he'll be asking some embarrassing questions.
Well, don't answer them. Just pretend we're gentlemen in from the country who've had a bit of a celebration and are sitting in the cab because we like horses.
Oh, Holmes, you're the most Hello. There's a slight figure coming through the doorway now. Yes, it must be the young prince.
He's hailing a cab. Get ready, driver.
There goes his cab, Holmes. Well, what are we waiting for?
For Hockey, confound him. Here he comes on the run. Open the door, Watson. We'll pick him up as we go. Follow that cab, driver. There's a $5 in it for you if you don't let him out of your sight.
Oh, confound this fog. It's getting so thick we can't see the cab up ahead.
Calm yourself, Harkrider. They can't go any faster than we can. As long as we can hear their horses' hooves, they can't get away from us.
We must be near the river, Holmes. Hear those foghorns?
Yes, we've just passed London docks, to be exact, my dear Watson.
How do you know? Don't tell me you can see any further through this pea souper than I can.
Possibly not, Watson, but I can smell. The warehouses here contain the most varied and fascinating cargoes in the whole port. Wines, hides, rubber, drugs, iodine, coffee, spices, cocoa, quicksilver, to mention just a handful. On our left, we should be approaching Wapping Old Stairs. If you listen carefully, you can hear the lapping of the water.
Not with that thing blatting away, you can't.
I say, what do you suppose that boy is headed for in this district?
Has it ever occurred to you, Harkrider, how many Lascars and Hindus are employed in the docks in this part of London?
Oh, funny, I'd forgotten that. As a matter of fact, I'd almost forgotten London had a port.
Most Londoners do. Ask the average Englishman what's the largest port in the United Kingdom, and chances are he'll answer Liverpool or Plymouth or Southampton.
Well, aren't they?
My dear Watson, the exports and imports of the Port of London more than equal in value any two of them combined.
What's up? We're stopping. Well, no, we're going on.
We've turned into Tunnel Pier Road.
Well, how can you tell that?
By the rumbling of the trains going through the tunnel.
I can't hear a blasted thing.
Neither can I, but I can feel them. So could you if your senses were properly developed. Yes, near here used to be the site of Execution Dock, where Captain Kidd and other pirates were hanged in chains at low water and left for 3 tides.
Holmes, if you must give us a cook's tour of the district, couldn't you pick some cheerful items to lecture about?
The carriage ahead stopped. Wait here, driver. Out you go, Watson. You too, Harkrider.
Righto.
Yes. There's the boy up ahead. He's feeling his way along the wall. He stopped.
He is tapping out some kind of signal on the wall.
By Jove. I say the wall is opening. I saw no sign of a doorway. Now it's closing after him. But it works mechanically.
Quick, Watson. Don't let it shut. It's our one chance to follow the boy. Stick your foot in the crack. Hurry.
Oh! Oh,
now what?
I did as you told me. The blasted door's killing me.
Harkrider, take the cab and go back to the Savoy and get the Maharaja of Banjoram. Bring him here.
Shall I fetch a platoon of police as well, just in case?
I don't imagine he'll let you. Here, make a mark on the wall so you can find the door again.
Done.
Now then, Watson, slip inside the door.
Right.
Quick, before the guard finds it's not closed. Hurry back, Harkrider.
Chin up, Holmes. Be back in a jiffy.
Seems to be some sort of courtyard with carved walls. Weird, grotesque carvings. Holmes, they look horrible in the light of that flickering lantern up ahead.
Those carvings represent East Indian deities. As you say, Watson, they are not nice.
Look, Holmes. A tall man in a fierce beard and wearing a turban has stepped into the light of the lantern.
Yes. He'll be a Sikh. Very warlike tribe, Watson. I imagine he's on sentry duty. There must be an entrance through that archway.
What of it? We'll never get by him. I only hope he doesn't discover us.
Right. I don't think he'd hesitate to use that large knife he has sticking in his belt.
I say, what's that?
Another customer's arrived at the door in the wall, I imagine. Yes. Here comes the sentry to let him in.
What can we do? He'll find us.
No, there's an empty niche above our heads. Step on my hands, Watson. Right. Up you go. Now, give me your hand.
Heave-ho! But won't he see us up here?
I don't think so. It's a well-established fact that a man seldom looks above his head. Yes. Here he comes. Pretend to be a statue. Look grotesque. It shouldn't be too difficult.
Phew. He's gone on by. I didn't dare breathe.
Here's our chance to find out what's beyond the archway. Quick, we'll have to run for it while he's still busy at the outer door.
And so while our two friends are trying to sneak past the guard, let's discuss your spring wardrobe. Will it be comfortable? Will it wear? Is it good looking? Well, naturally, these questions are on your mind when you buy a new suit or topcoat. The same questions Clippercraft asked themselves long ago and answered by bringing you the finest values you've ever seen at an outstanding local independent store. Clippercraft invented the unique Clippercraft plan that concentrates the buying power of 1,036 stores across the nation. Now, the plan's the reason for those amazing values which are yours, even in this era of high prices. Clippercraft suits that look much more costly for only $40 and $45. Top coats and fine coverts and worsted gabardine at only $40 and $45, and sport jackets at only $26.50. Yes, selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suit, top coat, and overcoat. In Manhattan, John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th. In Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge Newark. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue.
And now back to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, who have managed to sneak inside the unguarded doorway.
Good Lord, Holmes, it's a great heathen temple in the heart of London. The incense is almost as thick as the fog outside. There must be hundreds of people in here, all bowing before that horrible idol.
More than horrible, Watson. It's the Serpent God, servant of Shiva, the destroyer.
Now what?
I don't know. Here, hide behind this wall curtain.
Holmes, here comes the priest or magician or whatever they call him. He's even uglier than the statue of the god.
That is the Guru, Watson. It's a mask he's wearing. Aha! Notice how his head moves from side to side. We shall soon know, Watson. We shall soon know.
Look, there's the boy. He's approaching the priest. Holmes, what's wrong with him? He walks as if he'd been hypnotized.
Quiet, Watson. The Guru is going to speak.
Son of sons, you've done well to come. I speak for the Great One, our Lord of the Cobras. I say to you that you are doomed.
That's Moriarty's voice right enough.
Your youth will fade, your limbs wither, your mind shrivel and decay, and your soul be damned to eternal torment unless you heed my words. Heed and obey. You are to kill!
No, no!
It is so decreed. Tonight you shall hear what you must do from the Great One himself. You are honored above all men. The Lord of Serpents will speak to you. Bow down and listen.
Holmes, he's going to make the idol talk.
Jinnah is chosen, but first the throne must be purified. He will kill the Maharaja, his brother, and rule in his place. The temples of the god have been profaned. They can be cleansed only with blood, rivers of blood, the blood of all white people who live in Banjoram.
Holmes, this is outrageous. How do they make the idol say such horrible things?
It's Moriarty. When he bows to the ground, he puts his mouth to a sort of grill work. Unless I'm very much mistaken, it hides a speaking tube.
But what does he expect to gain by all this hocus-pocus?
Quiet, Watson. He's getting ready to speak again in his own voice.
When you are on the throne, O son of the serpent, you will need advice and wise counsel. The god of the cobras has spoken to me in the night. He has appointed me to be your advisor.
Now we come to the point of the argument.
Holmes, we must warn the Maharaja.
We can't leave now, Watson. We shall have to wait until everyone else is gone.
What's that for?
Now let the music call the great ones. The cobras, let them come from their hiding places. They shall dance for their new king.
Holmes, they have cobras, live cobras in this place. Look, they're coming out those little windows along the wall near the floor. How perfectly vile. Look at them writhing and swaying to the music.
Steady, Watson, steady.
Holmes, We're standing in front of one of those little windows. There's something crawling over my foot.
Stand perfectly still, don't move.
It's turned. It's raising its head.
Don't lose your nerve, Watson. Don't.
Got it! Shot its filthy head off.
Who's there? There are spies! Behind that curtain, capture them!
We're in for it this time, Watson. Give me your revolver. I'll stand them off as long as possible.
Holmes, where are you?
Over here, Watson. Tied hand and foot.
It's as black as pitch in here. If only Harkrider would get back, he might be able to help us. Seems as if he's been gone for hours. Holmes, you don't suppose he's lost his way in the fog?
That, my dear Watson, is an unfortunate possibility. Seems we're about to have a visitor, Watson.
We meet for the last time, Sherlock Holmes. Once more you have been foolish enough to meddle in my plans. This time, I think, will be the last.
Such a pity, Moriarty. You're going to miss our little passages at arms.
Possibly, but you have made too great a nuisance of yourself lately, my dear adversary. In a very little while I shall leave you and take my place again before the image of the Serpent God, which is just above this little room. Then 4 slaves will come. They will carry you before the altar for the final rites. It will soon be over. First, Dr. Watson shall be sacrificed to the image. You shall watch him die, Holmes. And then...
You devil, you inhuman fiend!
You do not approve my plans. So sorry. Listen. Here come the men to carry you to the temple. First, the fat one. Place him on the ground. Now bring the box of cobras.
It's all my fault, Holmes.
Chin up, Watson.
Holmes! Something's happening to the door. They're breaking it down.
Where are the guards? Who dares to enter here?
Give way, you fools! Give way by His Highness the Maharaja!
Holmes is Harkrider and the old boy himself.
Even the Maharaja does not dare interfere with the servants of the Serpent God.
You are wrong, O father of unclean lizards. If you were a real serpent of your cobra gods, you'd know that I am the earthly arm, the voice and the will of the god who rules your gods, the most terrible of all. See here his ring on my hand. I am the earthly representative of Shiva, the destroyer. Get up from your faces, you fools. Release those 2 men. And seize this other, who is no holy man of India. Seize here his skin, while I tear away his garments. He is a white man and a criminal.
You think I have no way of escape? Then what?
Moriarty! He's gone! He had a secret door at the base of the idol.
After him, all of you!
I say, do you think they'll catch him?
Oh, possibly not, but I must say I'm tremendously grateful that you've shown the faker up and demonstrated to Jinnah here how easily one can be led astray by superstition and ignorance. But enough of that. Harkrider, get out your pocket knife and help me to free our friend.
Righto.
You'll have to forgive me, Watson, old boy, but trussed up like that, you remind me of that night of our first year at school when the boys in the upper form decided to have a bit of a rag.
Good Lord, you're not... But of course you are. Banjo. Dear old Banjo. Well, I mean, Your Highness.
Oh, not to my friends, Johnny.
Tell me, Banjorum, are you really the arm of Shiva and all that sort of thing, or was that just plain swank?
Not at all, my dear Watson. In His Highness's kingdom in India, his people are convinced he's partially supernatural.
Oh, it's rather tedious, you know, and quite frequently lonely. That's why I sent for this young scallywag to come and visit me. Come along now, Jinnah. There's no need to be frightened now, you know.
Oh, I was not going to kill you, sir. No matter what they did to me. Really, I wasn't.
Of course you went. Come along home. It's way past your bedtime.
Yes, right. Pleasant dreams, Prince Jinnah. I fancy it'll be the first good night's sleep you've had for some time.
It will indeed, sir. I've been under a bit of a strain, but it was worth it to meet the famous Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Wow, that was a narrow squeak, Dr. Watson. My hair fairly stood on end.
Good for you, Mr. Harris. Glad I held your interest.
You did that. And now, how about just a hint about next week's story, Dr. Watson?
Next week, I think I'll tell how I learned a great deal about the ancient sport of archery. In it, Holmes solved a murder in which the weapon was a rather unusual golden arrow. He solved it, I may say, by catching the murderer literally red-handed.
The makers of Clipper Craft Clothes and 1,036 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character of Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is played by John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Alfred Shirley, and the dramatizations are by Edith Meiser. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil, with special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. Once again, it's your privilege to aid in the increasing fight against suffering, disease, and disaster. Once again, your American Red Cross confidently appeals to American generosity to support its humane work. This year, then, give a little more, because the need is greater. Be sure to listen next Sunday to Sherlock Holmes in Death is a Golden Arrow. Speaking for Clippercraft Clothes, this is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Hey, this is Lights. You're listening to WBGU FM in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Hey, Suzanne, what's up?
My sorority is having a bar crawl, and I don't know what to wear.
Why not get matching t-shirts or something? That'd be funny.
Matching shirts? How can I do that?
You know, the VARC.
The what?
Aardvark downtown. They make designs and shirts all the time for BG students. You can design your own artwork, too, if you want.
WBGU FM is brought to you by Aardvark Screen Printing and Embroidery, located at 123 South Main Street, Bowling Green, Ohio, and always open at aardvarkspe.com.
All right, so hope you enjoyed that adventure of the Serpent God. Some interesting characterizations in there. That first aired on March 14th, 1948. All right, so the weather and the events are up next. Tonight, low of 56, nice. Tomorrow, which is Monday, June 4th, sunny all day, high of 75, low of 55. And Tuesday, June 5th, partly cloudy, high of 74, low of 51. And we've got some events that are going on. I'll try and do them in order. So, June 8th, which is this coming Friday, we have some music going on at Howard's. We have bands The Living Deads, Split Second, Lords of the Highway, and Tink and the Tanks. They are playing at Howard's, and that starts at 8 p.m., doors at 8, music probably at 9. So there's that for you. We have Sip, Snack, and Paint, hosted by the Wood County Humane Society, who I volunteer with. So that is happening this next Sunday, which is June 10th. Starts at 3, goes till 6 o'clock, and it is hosted by the Wood County Humane Society, but it is located at Arta Site, which is 139 West Worcester Street in Bowling Green. So create a lasting hand-painted portrait of your pet. It benefits the Wood County Humane Society. Light snacks and drinks will be provided. You can also bring your own. 20 seats available. So it's $50 per person and one animal per photo. So check it out on Facebook. Look it up on Facebook And there's some more info and a link for you to like buy tickets for it. And then on June 18th, which is a Monday, which is a bit ahead, but hey, there's going to be the Rosie and Viv show. So a drag show at Howard's. Starts at 10, it looks like. So they're going to be doing that on that night. And then also at Howard's on Saturday, June 23rd, which is kind of a while away, but it is the Hard Bargains CD release show with other bands Discount Nostalgia, Hot Love, and Shell Shock. Doors at 8, show at 9. It says all ages, probably, so bring your grandma. So there you go. Some fun events that are happening. All right, so we are going to play the next one. So let me find it up in here. Okay, we're going to listen to The Blue Carbuncle. This first aired January, February, March 13th, 1955. So this is a little bit later than the last one. And this one is with, let me check my little thing, Sir John Gielgud and Sir Ralph Richardson as the voice actors. So here we go. Next adventure, 2 out of 3 during this 2-hour show of A Sherlock Summer here on WBGU FM. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me. Box 13.
And I forgot that there's this guy. The archive site I downloaded this from has this man's commentary on it, which, hey, you know, he's not the real host of this show, but I'll let him talk.
Today's episode is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. Thank you so much for your support. Now it's time for today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, The Blue Carbuncle.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the original and immortal stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, dramatized anew, with Sir Ralph Richardson as Dr. Watson and Sir John Gielgud in the role of Sherlock Holmes.
Christmas. Christmas in our London of the 1880s. With a sparkle round the gaslights and a glow on the hurrying passers-by laden with mysterious parcels. With candled shop windows heaped with toys, with tinkling hansoms hastening past, with a million tall trees and a million tall drawing rooms. Christmas. And in the glow and glory of it, I called at Baker Street to see my old friend Sherlock Holmes. Compliments of the season, Holmes.
Who? What? Who's that?
Compliments of the season, Holmes.
Oh, Watson, it's you. Good evening. How do you do?
I must say that's a deuced cold greeting for the time of year. But don't you believe in the Christmas spirit?
Yes, of course I do, my dear fellow. It's only that I'm profoundly engaged. My mind was elsewhere. Close the door, Watson, and come in. There's a confounded din from the street. Yes, that's much better. Sit down, won't you?
Oh, of course, if you're engaged, Holmes, I'd better not stay. I've still some visits to make to my patients.
No, of course. You know how glad I always am to have you, old friend, to discuss my problems with. Now, help yourself to a whiskey and soda, Watson.
Oh, thank you.
And just tell me what you think of that.
Think of what?
That. Hanging on the back of the chair there. I've been contemplating it for the last half hour.
Well, it's only a hat, a simple, hard, black hat.
Just so.
You best sit down with me by the fire and tell me all about it. And I'll brew some punch.
Excellent, excellent, Watson. You know where everything is, of course. And meanwhile, I'll tell you the tale of this hat, and I ask you to consider it, Watson, not as a battered old billycock, but as an intellectual problem.
Well, let me find the nutmeg grater first, and I'm ready. Well, yes, here it is.
Well, then. You know Peterson, the commissionaire at the hotel on the corner?
Of course. Why? Is it his hat?
No, his trophy.
Trophy?
Well, he found it. The owner is unknown. It arrived here, Watson, in company with a fine fat goose, which I have no doubt at this moment is roasting merrily in front of the Petersons' fire.
Oh, well, a goose and a hat. No doubt the connection's obvious, but where have you put the lemons, my dear fellow?
Lemons? Oh, try the gazogene, Stan.
No?
Oh, well, then that hideous bamboo smoking companion that Mrs. Hudson will insist on sitting down beside the sofa every afternoon.
Ah, yes, here we are.
Now, the facts are these, Watson. Peterson, who's a very honest fellow, as you know, was returning about 4 o'clock this morning from some small seasonal jollification and walking homewards down the Tottenham Court Road.
Oh, stir the fire a bit, will you? My hands are full.
Certainly, Watson. Sure. In front of him, there in the gaslight, Peterson suddenly saw a tallish man with a stick, walking with a slight stagger and carrying a white goose over his shoulder. As he reached the corner of Warren Street, this man was suddenly set upon by a crowd of roughs. One of them knocked his hat off, and as he raised his stick to defend himself, he accidentally swung it against a shop window and smashed the glass.
Oh, well, what happened next, Holmes?
Well, Peterson, who was still wearing his commissionnaire's uniform, rushed to the man's assistance. But the fellow, shocked at breaking a window and seeing a man in uniform running up to him, dropped his goose and took to his heels. The roughs did the same, leaving Peterson master of the field of battle. He brought both bird and hat to me. There was a card on the bird's leg with "For Mrs. Henry Baker" written on it, and the initials H.B. are written on the label inside the hat. But of course there are some thousands of people named Baker in this great city of ours, so it has been my little occupation for this last hour or so to try and deduce the exact identity of this one.
From his hat?
Yes, Watson. The owner of this hat, Watson, highly intellectual, fairly well-to-do, but in the space of the last 3 years seems to have fallen on evil days. He used to have foresight, but he has less now than formerly. I suspect he's taken to drink, which would also perhaps account for the fact that his wife no longer loves him.
Oh, my dear.
Middle-aged, goes out little, has grizzled hair, which he anoints with lime cream, and has been to the barber's lately. It is also extremely improbable that he has gas laid on in his house.
Ah, come on. No, you're surely joking. Now, I've seen you at this kind of thing before, of course, but this is going too far. His wife, Holmes. You said she'd stopped loving him.
The hat hasn't been brushed for weeks, my dear fellow.
Ah?
Well, when I see you, Watson, with such an accumulation of dust on your respectable headgear, I shall expect you to be returning to your old quarters here within the next day or two.
Oh, you know, you've an answer for everything. Wonderful, wonderful. Except the gas. The fact that there's no gas laid on in his house. Now, that really is impossible.
Not at all. One tallow stain, or even two, might come by chance. But when I see no less than 5, I think there can be little doubt that the owner must be brought in frequent contact with burning tallow. Yes, he probably walks upstairs at night with his hat in one hand and a guttering candle in the other. Anyhow, he never got tallow stains from a gas jet. Satisfied?
How much so? Oh, my so very, very, most ingenious.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Well, it seems rather a waste of your talents, but there's been no crime committed. Nothing but the loss of a Christmas goose.
That goose, my dear fellow.
Miss Holmes, are you in?
Hello, what's this? Who is it? Yes, come in.
Mr. Holmes.
My dear Peterson.
Oh, it's the goose, sir.
Well, has it returned to life and flapped off through the kitchen window? You're as white as a sheet.
Oh, well, yes, see here, sir. Here. Look what my wife found inside its crop.
What? Look.
This is treasure trove indeed, Peterson.
Yes.
A precious stone. One of the biggest I've ever seen.
It's more than a precious stone, Watson. It's the precious stone. The blue carbuncle.
Great heavens. The Countess of Morcar?
Precisely. Missing for 5 days and with a descriptive advertisement every morning in the Times about it. And a reward of £1,000 for its recovery.
£1,000? Oh, love a duck.
A goose, Peterson.
A blue carbuncle.
Yes, I remember now. Lost at the Hotel Cosmopolitan.
That's it, and they've arrested some plumber fellow who's supposed to have taken it from the Countess's jewel case.
£1,000 reward? Oh, God.
I was reading about it only just now. Yes. Here we are. The Hotel Cosmopolitan jewel robbery. John Horner, plumber, 26, was brought up on the charge of having abstracted from the jewel case of the Countess of Morcar the valuable gem known as the blue carbuncle.
What else, Watson?
It seems that this fellow Horner was taken up to the Countess's room by her maid, a girl called Catherine Cusack, to do some kind of repair. When the head attendant of the hotel went in, a fellow called James Ryder, to see if the work was finished, he found the jewel case was lying empty and that Horner had gone. They gave the alarm, and Horner was found by the police, and they arrested him. The case has been referred to the assizes.
Well, then the only problem remaining to be solved is the sequence of events leading from an empty jewel case in a hotel room at one end to the crop of a goose in the Tottenham Court Road at the other. Just give me a pencil and that slip of paper, will you, Peterson?
Oh, yes, sir. £1,000. Oh, blow me down, yes, sir.
What are you going to do, Holmes?
Find the owner of this hat. H.B. Henry Baker. Yes, he began as a joke, and now he's become a mystery. We'll try the simplest method first. An advertisement. How's this, Watson? Read it.
Found at the corner of Warren Street, a goose and a black felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening at 221 Baker Street.
Clear and concise, I think. Yes, if you've quite recovered from your astonishment, Peterson, sir, just run down to the advertisement office and have this put in all the evening papers, will you?
All of them, sir?
All of them. Oh, and by the way, Peterson, sir, on your way back, just see if you can buy another goose.
Another goose, sir?
Yes, as near as possible the same size as that one that your family is about to devour.
Oh, yes, sir. You're going to keep the stone, sir?
Yes, here, in my strong box. And I'll just drop a note to the Countess to say we found it. Hurry up, Peterson.
Oh, yes, sir. £1,000. Gosh, time the crows.
No, the geese, Peterson.
Mr. Henry Baker, if I'm not mistaken. Do come in, Mr. Baker.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Sit down, won't you? Pray sit down. This is my good friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do,
How
sir?
do you do?
Mayn't I help you to a whiskey and soda, Mr. Baker?
Oh, thank you. I'll leave out the soda, if I may, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, of course. You see, Watson?
Congratulations, Holmes. The very man as you described him.
I beg your pardon.
Nothing, sir. Forgive us. A private matter.
Now, Mr. Baker, you've come, haven't you, in answer to my advertisement. Is this your hat?
This? Oh, yes, sir, undoubtedly.
Then pray allow me to return it to you with my compliments. The bird, I'm afraid, we've been compelled to eat.
What? Oh, dear.
Careful, Mr. Baker. You'll spill your drink.
It was quite a necessity, I'm afraid, since in these modern days we seem to have lost the art of refrigeration, in which our Elizabethan ancestors were so adept. However, there's this other bird here on the sideboard, to which you're extremely welcome as a replacement.
That's uncommonly kind of you, sir.
Not at all. Of course, we still have the feathers and the crop of your own bird, if you'd like to take them too.
Oh, you're an honest man, sir, but the disjected member of my late acquaintance are hardly likely to be of much use to me. but I will have one more drink, if I may. Very small.
Most certainly. Would it trouble you, Mr. Baker, to tell me where you got that uncommonly fine bird of yours?
Not at all, sir. I'm a member of a Christmas goose club run by the landlord of the Alpha Inn near the museum.
The Alpha Inn, Watson.
Ah. I got it there in exchange for my weekly fourpences, which I've been paying since last April.
Well, that's good value for 12 shillings, Mr. Baker, eh?
Yes. I really am most grateful to you for your kindness, sir. I was set on by some roughs in the street, and I lost it.
All's well that ends well, Mr. Baker. We were fortunate enough to find it, so here's your hat, and here is your new bird. Oh, I put the old ticket onto it, the one that was tied to the other goose's leg, marked to Mrs. Henry Baker.
Oh, how nice of you. I'm much obliged, sir.
Well, not at all. A peace offering, Mr. Baker.
A peace offering, sir, in point of fact, to my better half.
Ah, quite.
Good night, sir, and thank you again.
Good night, Mr. Baker. Good night.
Well, so much for Mr. Henry Baker, Watson.
Well, it's quite evident that he was innocent, of course, from the trap you laid. I mean, about the feathers and the crop.
Yes, evident. I suggest, Watson, that we turn that proposed dinner of ours into a late supper. I'll tell Mrs. Hudson she'll forgive us. And in the meanwhile, let's follow up the clue of the Alpha Inn.
By all means, Holmes, I confess I'm most intrigued.
But I'm afraid we shall have to battle our way out through those infernal waits who are making night so hideous on our humble doorstep. Come, Watson, we've work to do this Christmas Eve.
It was a bitter night, and so we drew on our ulsters and wrapped our mufflers about our throats. We swung through the doctor's quarters of Wimpole Street and Harley Street, and so along the great thoroughfare of Oxford Street, where the crowds were thinning now to Bloomsbury. And there, in a forgotten corner, we found the Alpha Inn, and from the rosy landlord learnt that the geese for his Christmas club had come from a dealer named Breckenridge in Covent Garden. Yes, here's the market, Holmes. What was the name of the goose dealer?
Breckenridge, Watson. Yeah, there it is, you see? The largest stall of the lot. There's the name written up over it.
Yes, just in time. They're closing up. Horsey-looking fella, isn't he?
What's that you say, horsey? Good for you, Watson. That fact might come in useful. Ah, good evening, Mr. Breckenridge. It's a cold night.
Cold enough, I reckon. Glad to get finished.
Sold out of geese, I see.
Let's have 500 tomorrow morning.
Ah, that's no good, I'm afraid. We want one tonight.
Here, there's someone that stall over there with a gas flare. Now, excuse me.
Oh, we
sir.
will recommend it to you particularly, Mr. Breckenridge.
Oh, who by?
By the landlord of the Alpha Inn in Bloomsbury.
Yes, you supplied him with some incomparable birds, he told us. Where did you get them from, by the way?
Now, look here. What exactly are you driving at, mister?
Why, nothing, only that I wanted to know who sold you those geese.
I'm dashed if I tell you then. You're another one to pester me, are you?
Another one? What do you mean?
When I pay good money for a thing, that should be the end of it, I say. But it's where are those geese, and who did you sell those geese to? Till I'm sick of it. You think that lot were the only geese in the world, the way some folk keep on at me about them?
Well, I can assure you that we've nothing to do with any other people who've been making inquiries, Mr. Breckenridge. In fact, all I'm concerned with is a little bet I've made.
A bet?
Yes, sir. I'm always ready to back my opinion, and I've bet a fiver with my friend the doctor here that the bird we ate from the Alpha Inn was country bred.
You've lost your fiver then, 'cause it was town bred.
No, it was nothing of the kind.
It was, I tell you. God, do you think you know more about fowls than I do when I've been in the trade, man and boy?
I tell you, it's country bred.
Each town. Here. Will you take a bet with me, too?
With pleasure. A sovereign, every penny of it.
Right, it's on now. Where's that ruddy book of mine? Here it is. Here. Just look in there, Mr. Cockshaw.
Oh, what's this?
That's the list of the folk I buy from, see? And what I do with the stuff when I've bought it. Now then, look at that name there, do you see?
Can you see it, Watson, in this light?
Yes.
Mrs. Oakshott, isn't it?
That's right, Mrs. Oakshott. And what's the address,
117 Brixton Road, egg and poultry supplier.
Brixton Road, Mr. Ironmighty. And what's the last entry under it, eh?
December the 22nd, 24 geese at 7 and 6.
And who were they sold to, eh?
Sold to Mr. Windigate of the Alpha at 12 shillings.
Right. And so what do you say now, Mr. Blooming Poultry Fancier?
Well, I must say I could have sworn it was country bred. All right, you win, Mr. Breckenridge. There's your sovereign.
Thank you.
Come along, Doctor. Oh, you 5, I think.
Yes, you do. Easy money, that's what I say. Well, good evening, gents. Merry Christmas.
Good evening, Mr. Breckenridge. Well, Watson, let's stand here by the gas lamp for a moment. I want to think.
I tell you, I don't know nothing about it. You get out of here, I'll say.
Hello? What's going on?
Was there some kind of a quarrel, Holmes, back there at Breckenridge's store?
Oh, yes, so there is. Let's see what's the matter.
Look, that little rat-faced fellow, do you see? Breckenridge is threatening him.
I tell you, I've had enough of you and your blooming geese.
I was only asking you.
Yeah, well, you've asked the same before and you've got the same ready answer. You and anybody else.
One of them geese was mine, I say.
Well, you can ask Mrs. Blooming Oakshot for it.
She told me to ask you.
Yeah, then you can ask the King of Prussia for all I care. You get off now. Go on, knock your teeth out, mind you. Here, go on.
Oh, give it a red tea, honey, boy.
Go on, you blooming nosy parker, you.
The little fellow's coming this way, Watson. It looks as if we've saved our trip to Brixton. You want me to collar him? Stand by if he gets nasty. He looks a bit of a shrimp, though. Not much trouble. Here, my man. Not so fast. I'd just like a word with you.
What? Here, who are you?
What do you want? I couldn't help overhearing your little disagreement with the good salesman over there, and I think I might be able to assist you.
How do you mean? How could you know anything?
Who are you, eh? My name is Sherlock Holmes, and it's my business to know what other people don't know.
Well, you can't do anything about this.
On the contrary, you're trying to trace some geese, which were sold by a Mrs. Oakshot to that man there who sold them to the landlord of the Alpha Inn, who got rid of them through his goose club, of which Mr. Henry Baker is a member.
What? Why, you're the very man I've been looking for, Mr. Holmes. Oh, I can hardly tell you how much it means to me.
Watson, be good enough to signal for a four-wheeler, will you?
Yes, certainly.
I think, my friend, we'd better discuss this whole matter in some cozy place, rather than in the crowded street. We'll go to my room, shall we? Oh, what's your name, may I ask?
My name's Robinson. John Robinson.
No, the real name. It's always so awkward doing business with an alias.
All right, then. James Ryder.
Head attendant of the Hotel Cosmopolitan, I believe. Quite so. You have the cab, Watson.
Just coming over, Holmes.
Splendid. Now, would you mind just standing on Mr. Ryder's other side and just take him by the arm, will you? He might have a fancy to go for a little walk. Well, now, here we are. Looks very seasonable, this weather. Do put some more coal on, would you, Watson? Now then, pray take the basket chair, Mr. Ryder. You look chilly.
I'll make some more punch, I think, Holmes. We could all do with a warming.
Thank you, Watson, if you will. You'll find the lemons behind you on the gazogene stand.
And the nutmeg scraper?
There, behind the Persian slipper. Oh, you might hand it to me, will you, dear fellow? I'd like some tobacco.
Certainly.
Thank you so much. Well, now, Mr. Ryder.
Yes, sir?
You want to know what became of those geese, Mr. Ryder, or rather of that goose. For I fancy it was only one that you were interested in, a white one with a black bar across its tail.
Oh, if you could only tell me, sir, I'd be that grateful. It's really mine, you see, sir. It was sold by mistake.
And a most remarkable bird, if I may say so, Mr. Ryder. Watson, hand me over my strong box, if you please. That bird laid an egg after it was dead, Mr. Ryder. The bonniest, brightest little blue egg that ever was seen. I have it here.
Oh, merciful heaven.
The game's up, Ryder.
Steady, man, steady, or you'll be in the fire.
Hang on to him, Watson.
It's all right, Holmes, I've got him. Almost fainting, poor devil. I'll get him a brandy.
Poor devil. Hey, heavens, what a worm the fellow is. He's not got blood enough to go in for a felony.
But there you are, my man. Drink it up.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Oh, what have I done? What have I done?
You know perfectly well what you've done, Ryder. It only needs one or two more links, Watson, to make the case complete. Now then, Ryder, who told you of the Countess of Morca's jewel, the blue carbuncle?
It was Catherine Cusack, sir. I swear it was their idea.
The Countess's waiting maid home.
Exactly. And so you invented some excuse to send that unfortunate young Horner into the Countess's hotel room And after he was gone, you rifled the jewel case, raised the alarm, and put the blame onto him.
Yes, sir, I did, sir. Oh, for heaven's sake, have mercy, Mr. Holmes. I never went wrong before. It was Kathy was to blame.
Get up off
please,
the floor, man. It's no good kneeling to me. You didn't show much mercy to Horner, did you?
I'll leave the country, sir. The charge will break down against him.
Get up. Watson, help me onto his feet, for heaven's sake.
What I want to know is how the stone got into the Goose Rider. There, man, take another drink.
Well, it was all a mistake, you see, sir. Once I had it, I wanted to hide it somewhere. It seemed to burn a hole in my pocket. So I went to my sister's, you see, to think things out.
Your sister?
Maggie. She married a man called Oakshott. She fattens fowls for the market at Brixton.
Oakshott, eh?
Well, I was thinking it out in her yard, see, smoking a pipe like. I remember that Maggie had promised me a bird for Christmas, so I had an idea.
You forced the stone down the bird's throat?
Yes, sir. Well, just then Maggie came out to see what I was up to, and the bird got free for a minute, but I went and caught it again, and Maggie and I killed it. I had a notion to take the stone to a chap I knew up in Kilburn that told me once he knew how to get rid of stolen property. And I thought it would be safe from any search in the bird's crop, you see, sir, even if the police did take it into their hands to stop me. They weren't all that certain about Horner, you see.
When you got to Kilburn, it wasn't there.
No, sir, so I rushed back to Maggie. By that time, all the other birds had gone to market, see. There was 2 of them with barred tails, you see, sir. I'd caught the wrong one after it had got away. I've been at that stall at the garden ever since, trying to find out where it had gone. Oh, Mr. Holmes.
Well, what are you going to do, Holmes?
I'm not quite sure, but I think all things considered, it might be best to get out, Ryder.
What? You mean?
I mean, get out, man.
Oh, heaven bless you, Mr. Holmes.
I don't want to hear any more from you. Get out.
Thank you, Mr.
Get
Holmes.
out.
Heaven bless you, sir.
Well, a most singular and whimsical business, my dear Watson.
My dear Holmes. Shouldn't you have turned him in?
Well, when all's said and done, Watson, I'm really not retained by the police to supplement their deficiencies. As soon as I send the stone back, the case against Horner will collapse at once. There'll be no witness.
But you're committing a felony, you know.
Well, it's just possible that I'm also saving a soul. I don't believe he'll go wrong again. He's too scared. Besides, Watson... Well, this is the season of forgiveness, man. Listen. 12 o'clock. It's Christmas Day. Oh, pass me some of that delicious punch of yours, won't you? And tell me you forgive me, too.
Forgive you? In heaven's name, for what?
For being so surly yesterday morning when you offered me the compliments of the season. I return them now with all my heart. And here's your health, old friend, with my glass upraised. A Merry Christmas, my dear Watson.
A Merry Christmas, Holmes.
God save Her Gracious Majesty.
Amen.
Welcome back. Well, I definitely prefer this to the John Stanley version, but that's just my opinion. Well acted and again, just a very solid John Gielgud performance here. I do apologize. One thing I regret is not able to bring it to you at a more seasonally appropriate time. But as we've only got 6 more weeks of the show left, we'll be done in...
Okay, I'm going to continue on now.
WBGU-FM, 88.1 and HD1, Bowling Green, Ohio.
Community sponsorship for WBGU programming is brought to you by Grounds for Thought, a local coffee shop offering vintage books, vinyl, comics, and a selection of home-baked goods. Grounds for Thought, located at 174 South Main Street, Bowling Green, Ohio.
I appreciate that guy's commentary, and it is also true for me that I did not bring that adventure to you in a very seasonable way, since we're months past Christmas, but hey, it's a fun adventure. I always like that one. That goose. Okay, so it is top of the hour now, 5:05 p.m., and you're listening to a Sherlock Summer here with me, your host, DJ Mick. I also do MICK'S, which is a music show, And I do this in the summers. And this is actually my last summer doing it because I will be going to grad school in Connecticut. All right, so I think we're going to do a little bit of a different thing. We still have one more full adventure to listen to, but I also have a couple little short things. Excuse me. So the last time I did this show this summer, which was weeks ago, I played a couple things from Beyond the Green Door and the Word Detective. So I'll do the Word Detective one. So this is with Basil Rathbone, and it's just a very short, it's like a 3-minute thing of him explaining where a word came from, basically. And the word for today is Melba toast. Here's Word Detective with Basil Rathbone.
In the era when the girl who was up to the minute was expected to display an hourglass figure, a buxom soprano christened Helen Porter Mitchell was the toast of New York and every capital in Europe. Today, in a way, she still is. You will see what I mean in the course of this edition of Word Detective, prepared as an educational service of this station in cooperation with the makers of Underwood typewriters. In 1893, just 1 year before the debut of the very first Underwood typewriter, music-loving New Yorkers thronged to the Metropolitan Opera House for the American debut of the soprano who was already the darling of Europe. She came, she sang, she conquered. However, the particular incident which affects our dictionaries had to do not with the high C, but with low calories. As many soprano before and since, this noteworthy lady worried considerably about her weight. For many months during her tenure as prima donna of London's Covent Garden, she engaged the services of a masseuse, who came to our house in London every morning. But alas, it wasn't enough. She had to go on a strict diet, too. And herein lies her entrance into our dictionaries today. After one Covent Garden triumph, she went off to celebrate with a party of friends in the dining room of the Hotel Savoy. Exercising a great self-control, she shook her head at Pheasant Under Glass and asked the waiter instead for a plain order of unbuttered toast. Somehow or other, the toast order was shunted off to an inexperienced assistant. When the prima donna received her snack, it was dry, thin, and hard. But instead of reacting to this with a temper tantrum, the soprano not only quietly ate the toast, but asked for another order of it, exactly the same. And now I suspect you know how this lady of the opera fits into our dictionaries, and in some case, our diets. I'll type the expression out for you right now on my Underwood typewriter, the only typewriter with the golden touch. It was Melba toast. After the turn of the century, prima donna Nellie Melba. The singer was born Helen Porter Mitchell in Australia back in the 60s, but when she made her opera debut in Brussels in 1887, she adopted the stage name Melba after the city of Melbourne in Australia. As any lover of rich desserts knows, Madame Nellie was responsible for the naming not only of the diet dish of Melba toast, but also a high-calorie concoction of vanilla ice cream, peaches, and claret sauce originated by the great French chef Escoffier, in short, Peach Melba. All of which means that Madame Melba was the only opera singer in history to be the toast of the town and also its dessert. Don't go away now. I'll be back in a moment.
All right, so there you have it. That's where the term Melba toast came from. I didn't even know what that was. It's interesting to hear the difference between listening to that and then hearing me speak, and it's so clear and crisp, and then that all vinyl scratch and all that. All right, so anyway, we're going to continue on with the third and last adventure of the evening. Yeah, 5 o'clock. I guess that counts as evening. So this is the Copper Beeches, and I was looking through my collection, and this one jumped out at me because there's an apartment complex in BG that's called Copper Beeches. So this aired on August 11th, 1959, so kind of a late one. Here it is, the Copper Beeches, here on a Sherlock Summer on WBGU FM.
Who would ever associate crime with those dear old homesteads?
They always fill me with a certain horror. It's my belief, Watson, that the lowest and vilest alleys in London do not present a more dreadful record of sin than does the smiling and beautiful countryside.
No man knew the hidden face of crime better than my friend Sherlock Holmes. My name is Dr. Watson, and it was my privilege to share the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I will tell you about the case of the copper Beeches. It began, as so often, with a letter. It made Holmes want to laugh at first, but soon he was to take it seriously. And you will see why in just a moment.
Well, it looks as though I've touched bottom at last. This note I had this morning marks my 0 point, I fancy. Here, read it.
Thank you. Dear Mr. Holmes, I'm very anxious to consult you as to whether I should or should not accept a situation which has been offered to me as governess. I shall call at 10:30 tomorrow if I do not inconvenience you. Yours faithfully, Violet Hunter. And you know the young lady?
Not I.
Well, the note was written yesterday, and it's 10:30 now.
Yes, and I have no doubt that is her ring.
Yes, well, let us hope so. But our doubts will very soon be resolved, for here, unless I'm much mistaken, is the person in question.
Oh.
You will excuse my troubling you, I hope, Mr. Holmes.
I shall be happy to do anything I can to serve you, Miss Hunter. Pray take a seat.
Thank you.
Oh, this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do, Dr. Watson? Well, Mr. Holmes, I think I should explain that I have had a very strange experience. And as I have no parents or relatives of any sort from whom I could ask advice, I thought that perhaps you would be kind enough to tell me what I should do.
A strange experience?
I have been a governess for 5 years, but my employer recently took an appointment abroad, and I found myself without a situation. I advertised and I answered advertisements, but I had no success. Then the little money I'd saved began to run short. I was at my wit's end what to do. There is a well-known agency for governesses in the West End called Westways, and I used to call there about once a week. The manager, Miss Stoper, sits in her own little office, and the ladies who are seeking employment wait in an anteroom. They're shown in one by one, and Miss Stoper consults her ledgers and sees whether she has anything to suit them. Well, when I called last week, I was shown into the office as usual, but I found that Miss Stoper was not alone.
Ah, this one will do. I could not ask for anything better, Miss Stoper. Capital, capital.
Sit down, Miss Hunter, please. This is Mr. Rucastle.
Thank you.
You are looking for a situation, miss?
Yes, sir.
As governess?
Yes, sir.
And what salary, do you ask?
In my last place, with Colonel Spence Munro, I had £4 a month.
Oh, come. Sweating, rank sweating. How could anyone offer so pitiful a sum to a lady with such attractions and accomplishments?
Oh, my accomplishments, sir, may be less than you imagine. A little French, a little German, music and drawing.
Now, this is all quite beside the question. The point is, have you the bearing and deportment of a lady? There it is, in a nutshell. If you have not, you are not fitted for the rearing of a child who may someday play a considerable part in the history of the country. But if you have, well, then how could any gentleman ask you to condescend to accept anything under 3 figures? Your salary with me, madam, would commence at £100 a year.
Oh.
It is also my custom to advance to my young ladies half their salary beforehand, so that they may meet any little expenses of their journey and their wardrobe.
May I ask where you live, sir?
Hampshire. Charming rural place. The Copper Beeches, 5 miles on the far side of Winchester. It's the dearest old country house.
And my duties, sir?
1 child, 1 dear little romper, just 6 years old.
My sole duties, then, are to take charge of a single child?
No. Not the soul, my dear young lady. Your duty would be, as I'm sure your good sense would suggest, to obey any little commands, provided always that they were such as a lady might with propriety obey, and which I or my wife might give.
Your wife? I should be happy to make myself useful, of course.
Quite so. We are faddy people, you know. Faddy, but kind-hearted. In dress now, for example, if you were asked to wear any dress which we might give you, you would not object to our little whim, huh?
Why, no, sir.
Or to sit here, or sit there. That would not be offensive to you.
No.
Or to cut your long hair quite short before you came to us.
My hair? Oh, no, sir. Oh, not my hair. Oh, I'm afraid that is quite impossible.
Well, I'm afraid it's quite essential. It is a little fancy of my wife's. And ladies' fancies, you know, madam, ladies' fancies must be consulted. And so you wouldn't cut your hair?
No, sir. I really could not.
Very well. In that case, Miss Stope, I had best inspect a few more of your young ladies.
Very well, Mr. Rucastle. Miss Hunter, do you desire your name to be kept upon our books?
Oh, if you please.
Well, really, it seems rather useless since you refuse the most excellent offers in this fashion. You can hardly expect us to exert ourselves to find another opening for you. Good day, Miss Hunter. Next, come along now.
Well, Mr. Holmes, when I got back to my lodgings and found little enough in the cupboard and 2 or 3 bills on the table, I began to ask myself whether I had not done a foolish thing. After all, if these people had strange fads, they were at least ready to pay for their eccentricity. Very few governesses in England are getting 100 a year. Besides, what use was my hair to me? By the day after next, I had almost overcome my pride so far as to go back to the agency, when I received this letter from the gentleman himself.
Miss Serpent has kindly given me your address, and I write from the Copper Beeches to ask you whether you have reconsidered your decision. My wife has been much attracted by my description of you, and is very anxious that you should come. We are willing to give £120 a year, so as to recompense for any little inconvenience which our fads may cause us. They are not very exacting, after all, and your duties with the child are very light. As regards your hair, it is no doubt a pity, but I am afraid that I must remain firm upon this point. Now do try and come, and I shall meet you with the dog cart at Winchester.
That is the letter I have just received, Mr. Holmes, and my mind is made up that I will accept. But I thought that before taking the final step, I should like to submit the whole matter to your consideration.
I confess it is not the situation which I should like to see a sister of mine apply for, eh, Watson?
What can it all mean, Holmes?
I have no data. I cannot tell. Perhaps Miss Hunter has formed some opinion.
Well, Mr. Rucastle seemed a kind man. Is it not possible that his wife is a lunatic, and that for fear she should be taken to an asylum, he humors her to prevent an outbreak?
As matters stand, that is the most probable solution. But in any case, it doesn't seem to be a very nice household for a young lady.
Oh, but the money, Mr. Holmes, the money.
The pay is too good. That's what makes me uneasy. There must be some strong reason for offering you £120 when they could have that pig for 40.
Oh, I feel that, too. So I thought if I told you the circumstances, you would understand afterwards if I wanted your help. I should feel so much stronger if I felt that you were at the back of me.
Oh, you may carry that feeling away with you. I assure you that your little problem promises to be the most interesting that has come my way for some months. Now, if you should find yourself in doubt or in danger...
Danger?
What danger do you foresee, Holmes?
It would cease to be a danger if we could define it.
Well, now that I have spoken to you, I shall write to Mr. Rucastle. Sacrifice my poor hair tonight and start for Winchester tomorrow.
And don't forget, at any time, day or night, a telegram would bring me down here.
What?
Listen to this.
What?
Please be at Black Swan Hotel, Winchester, midday tomorrow. Do come at my wit's end, Hunter. So it's taken her just a fortnight to find she needs my help again.
I'll look up the trains at once.
Will you come with me?
I should wish to.
Capital. Then I suggest we turn in at once. We shall need to be at our best in the morning.
How much further to go? Good. Good heavens. Who would ever associate crime with those dear old homesteads?
They always fill me with a certain horror. It's my belief, Watson, founded upon experience, I may add, that the lowest and vilest alleys in London do not present a more dreadful record of sin than does the smiling and beautiful countryside.
Horrifying.
Yes, but the reason is very obvious. The pressure of public opinion can do in the town what the law cannot accomplish. There is no alley so vile that the scream of a tortured child doesn't beget some sympathy and indignation among the neighbors, and one word of complaint can set the whole machinery of justice going.
Yes, quite true.
But look at these lonely houses, each in its own field. They're filled for the most part with poor, ignorant folk who know little of the law. Think of the deeds of hellish cruelty, the hidden wickedness which may go on year in, year out in such places, and none the wiser. Had this lady who appeals to us for help gone to live in Winchester, I should never have had a fear for her. No, it's the 5 miles of country between that makes the difference.
Still, if she can come into Winchester to meet us, she has her freedom.
Where so?
Can be the matter. Do you suggest no explanation?
I have devised 7 separate explanations. Each of them would cover the facts as far as we know them. But which of them is correct can only be determined by the fresh information that we shall no doubt find waiting for us at the Black Swan. Ah, there's the tower of the cathedral.
I got his leave to come into town this morning, though he little knew for what purpose.
Pray let us have everything in its due order, Miss Hunter.
Well, in the first place, I must say that I have met on the whole no actual ill treatment from Mr. and Mrs. Rucastle. But I'm not easy in my mind about them. I can't understand them.
What can you not understand?
The reason for their conduct. But you shall have it just as it occurred. When I came down, Mr. Rucastle met me here and drove me in his dog cart to Copper Beeches.
Yes?
I was introduced that evening to his wife and child. I gather that Mr. and Mrs. Rucastle had been married about 7 years. He was a widower, and his only child by his first wife was a daughter, who is now in Philadelphia. As she couldn't have been less than 20, I can quite imagine that her position must have been uncomfortable with her father's young, new wife.
Yes, indeed.
As for Mrs. Rucastle, I now know that there was no truth in our conjecture in your rooms at Baker Street. She is not mad. I found her to be a mere nonentity, as colorless in mind as she is in features. Her husband is kind to her, but she seems to have some secret sorrow.
Oh?
The one unpleasant thing about the house, which struck me at once, was the appearance and manner of the 2 servants, a man and his wife. Toller, as he's called, is a rough, uncouth man with a perpetual smell of drink. His wife is tall and strong and very sour.
And that's the entire household?
Yes. Oh, except for Carlo.
Carlo?
Mr. Rucastle introduced me to him on my first evening there.
Don't be frightened. He's well tied up. It's only Carlo, my mastiff. I call him mine, but really old Toller is the only one who can do anything with him. We feed him once a day, and not too much then, so he's always keen as mustard. Toller lets him loose every night, and heaven help the trespasser he lays his fangs into. Oh, and for goodness sake, Miss Hunter, don't you ever on any pretext set your foot over the threshold at night. It is as much as your life is worth if you do.
Very direct warning, and no idle one, I fancy. But pray, Miss Hunter, continue your narrative.
For 2 days after my arrival, my life was very quiet. On the 3rd, Mrs. Newcastle came down just after breakfast and whispered in her husband's ear.
Ah, yes, to be sure. Miss Hunter, my wife reminds me to say how much we are obliged to you for falling in with our whims so far as to cut your hair.
And the effect is charming, my dear.
Oh, it is nice of you to say so.
I assure you it has not detracted the tiniest iota from your appearance. And now we shall see how a change of dress will become you. If you will kindly go up to your room, you will find one laid out ready on your bed. It belongs to my dear daughter Alice, who's now in Philadelphia. It should fit you very well.
Charming. Simply charming.
Might have been made to measure, eh, dear?
A perfect fit.
I was surprised to see how well it suited me.
Perfect. And now, Miss Hunter, be good enough to take the chair over there, the one with its back to the center window. Ah, splendid. Now then, my dear, let us stay and talk with Miss Hunter for a little while, shall we?
And they stayed there talking for about an hour, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Newcastle told some extremely funny stories. So funny that I laughed till I was tired. The odd thing was, though, that Mrs. Newcastle never so much as smiled at them. Then her husband suddenly remarked that I might change my dress and go about my daily duty. Well, 2 days later, the same thing happened. When he had me laughing helplessly at his stories for a while, my employer handed me a novel, moved my chair slightly to one side, and asked me to read to him. I read for about 10 minutes, and then suddenly, in the middle of a sentence, he ordered me to stop and go and change my dress. Well, I hope, Mr. Holmes, you don't find my story too protracted.
I'm glad of the full details, whether they seem to you to be relevant or not.
Well, I shall try not to miss anything of importance. Well, you can imagine how curious I became as to the meaning of this extraordinary performance. For one thing, I noticed that they were always very careful to turn my face away from the window.
Ah.
I became consumed with a desire to see what was going on behind my back. Then a happy thought seized me. My hand mirror had been broken, and I concealed a small piece of the glass in my handkerchief.
Good.
On the next occasion, in the midst of the laughter, I put my handkerchief up to my eyes and was able, with a little management, to see all that there was behind me.
And what was that?
There was a man standing outside in the Southampton Road. He was small, and he had a beard. There were several others, but this one appeared to be looking earnestly in my direction. However, when I lowered my handkerchief, I found Mrs. Newcastle's eyes also fixed on me. She said nothing, but I'm convinced that she knew I had a mirror in my hand. She rose at once.
Jeffro, my dear, there's an impertinent fellow out on the road who's staring up at Miss Hunter.
Really? A friend of Miss Hunter's, no doubt.
I know no one in these parts, sir.
Oh, dear me. How very impertinent, then. Kindly turn round and wave him away. Like this.
Oh, surely it would be better to take no notice.
No, we should have him loitering here always.
Exactly. Kindly turn round, Miss Hunter, and motion him to go away.
Very well.
Is that all you have to tell us, Miss Hunter?
Almost all, Mr. Holmes. I had noticed that one wing of the Copper Beeches appeared to be quite uninhabited.
Oh?
When I saw Toller come from there yesterday and forget to take the key out of the partition door, I slipped in quickly enough. I found a little passage with 3 doors in a line. 2 of them were open. The center one was closed and sealed with an iron bar and padlock. My nerves failed me suddenly. I turned and ran straight into the arms of Mr. Rucker.
So it was you, then?
Oh, I'm so frightened.
And what has frightened you, my dear young lady?
It's so dreadfully still in there. It's so lonely and eerie.
Only that?
Why? What do you mean?
Why do you imagine I locked the door to this wing?
Why, I'm sure I don't know, sir.
It's to keep out people who have no business here. Do you see now?
Oh, well, I'm sure if I had known,
Well, then, you know now. And if you ever put your foot over that threshold again, I'll throw you to the mastiff. Remember that, miss?
After that, I suppose I could have fled the house. But I must confess my curiosity remained as strong as my fears. By the time I had sent you a wire, Mr. Holmes, I felt much easier. I had no difficulty getting leave to come here this morning, but I must get back by 3. Mr. and Mrs. Rucastle are going on a visit early this evening, and I have to look after the child.
That is well. What about Toller and his wife?
I heard his wife telling Mrs. Rucastle that he's drunk himself into incapability. She can do nothing with him.
Capital. Now, is there a cellar with a good strong lock?
Yes, the wine cellar.
Do you think you could perform one more feat?
I will try.
Dr. Watson and I will be at the Copper Beeches by 7 o'clock. The Rucastles will be out by then?
Yes.
Yes, and Toller should still be incapable. Now, there only remains Mrs. Toller. If you could send her into the cellar on some errand and then turn the key on her, you would facilitate matters immensely.
I will do it.
Excellent. Watson?
Yes, Holmes?
I trust you have your revolver.
Of course I have.
There's only one feasible explanation for this business, and it's clear that we're dealing with a very cunning man. Very well then, Miss Hunter. We shall meet you at the Copper Beeches at 7 o'clock. Have you managed it?
Yes. That's Mrs. Toller pumping to be let out. Toller is snoring on the kitchen rug. Here are his keys.
Well done. Now, lead the way, and we shall soon see the end of this black business.
This is the locked room.
Now, one of these keys must fit the lock.
There's no sound from inside.
I trust they're not too late. This is the one.
There's no one here.
Rucastle has guessed Miss Hunter's intentions and carried his victim off.
Yes, but how?
Through that skylight. We shall soon find out how he managed it. Yes. Yes, I can just see the end of a ladder against the eaves.
But why should he need...
I tell you, he's a clever and dangerous man.
Holmes, someone's coming.
Watson, have your pistol ready.
So, I've caught you, have I?
Villain, where's your daughter?
It is for me to ask you that, you thieves. Spies and thieves.
Thieves?
But you're in my power. I'll serve you.
He's gone for the dog.
I have my revolver.
We'd better get downstairs and close the door.
Great heaven, it's got him.
Quickly, Watson. Go in and finish that brute.
I tell you what.
Shoot it, Watson.
Well, Rucastle will live at any rate.
Then let us hear what Mrs. Toller has to tell us. It's clear to me that she knows more about this matter than anyone else.
I've done so before now if I'd have got out of that cellar. Oh, miss, it's a pity that I didn't know what you was planning. I'd have told you were wasting your time.
But how could I know?
Pray, Mrs. Toller, let us hear it. There are several points on which I must confess I'm still in the dark.
Well, she was never happy at home, wasn't Miss Alice, after he married again.
You refer to Rucastle's daughter?
Yes, sir. She wasn't happy. But things never got real bad for her till she took up with Mr. Fowler.
Mr. Fowler?
The seafaring gentleman she met at a friend's house.
And Rucastle objected to the association.
Well, it wasn't just that, sir. You see, Miss Alice had a lot of money of her own by her mother's will. And there seemed to be a chance of her husband coming forward. Mr. Rucastle wanted her to sign a paper giving him control of the money, whether she married or not. When she wouldn't, he kept at her so much that she talked about running away.
Then I think I can deduce all that remains. Rucastle, I presume, took to this system of imprisonment.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean that Alice never went to Philadelphia? That Mr. Rucastle kept her locked up in that room?
Yes, and had the ingenious idea of bringing you down from London to impersonate her. to give the watching Mr. Fowler the impression that she no longer wished to encourage him. The laughter on these occasions was to convey the appearance that she remained in good spirits and was under no compulsion of restraint.
But then, where is Alice now?
I presume Mr. Fowler, being as persevering as a good seaman should be, succeeded by certain arguments in convincing that lady that her interests were the same as his.
Mr. Fowler was a very kind-spoken, free-handed gentleman.
Precisely. And in this way, he managed that your good man should have no want of drink, and that a ladder should be ready at the moment when your master had gone out. He suspected something and came back. Like us, he was too late for his daughter. Oh, but Watson, and Miss Hunter, here comes a lady. I presume it to be Mrs. Rucastle. Our locus standi now is rather a questionable one. I think we'd better make our way back to Winchester and say goodbye to the Copper Beeches forever.
The Case of the Copper Beeches was one of the stories of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. My name is Norman Shelley. My friend Carlton Hobbes played Sherlock Holmes, and I was Dr. Watson. The script for this BBC production from London was by Michael Hardwick. I look forward to the pleasure of your company again, soon, for more of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Hi, this is Mac DeMarco. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
College radio provides a voice for the voiceless. Let us give you that voice. WBGU, a Falcon media station, has always been committed to featuring local and independent artists. Music submissions can be mailed to us at any time or sent online at 881-WBGUFM@gmail.com. More information can be found at facebook.com/WBGUFM.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
All right, and that is the end of our third and final Sherlock Holmes adventure, the adventure of the Copper Beeches. And that, it had the air date. Oh yeah, August 11th from 1959. And that was with, wasn't that with Carlton Hobbes? Yes. I'm somewhat multitasking. I'm listening and also doing something else in here, so sorry. All right, so that is the end of the full-length adventures, because I can't really fit a whole nother one in. Oh, I guess I kind of could. No, I would rather not go over time, because if I'm correct, David Sears has his world music show from 6 to 8. All right, so, well, I have one more little non-Sherlock snippet, old clip thing. And it's Beyond the Green Door, and it features Basil Rathbone again as the voice actor for that. And they're just like, I don't even know how to describe them. Well, you know what? I won't. You can listen to it and describe it for yourself. So this one is called Clint, Perkins, and the Great, what is it? Great Azaam. Oh, all right, hold on. It's Azaa. What is the last? Yep, it is Azaam. Okay, I'll play that. Let's play that.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Basil Rathbone inviting you to join me beyond the green door. When a stranger comes to town, he'd best be wary of the friendships he incurs, lest he find himself thrust beyond the green door. Clint Perkins
Perkins was incensed. He lifted the hammer, swung it with all his might, and sent the weight shooting upwards, ringing the bell loudly. "You win again, son," said the man in the loud vest and derby hat. "What'll it be now, Cupid doll or the Hawaiian lay?" "Keep 'em both," snapped Clint. He jammed his hands in the pockets of his blue jeans and trudged off. How could Amy do such a thing? What got into women anyway? The two of them had been sweethearts ever since they were 12. Now along comes this carnival and this fella calling himself the Grand Azaam. And she takes one look at him and falls head over heels. Clint dug into his pockets and pulled out the engagement ring Amy had given him back. He was tempted to throw it away, but instead he thrust it back into his pocket, kicked at a cardboard box at his feet, and muttering to himself, walked on and passing down a long row of glittering gambling booths, ring toss and coin toss, pick a number, mechanical horse race. He'd even gone up to Azaam and tried to explain, tried to tell him that Amy was only a kid, that they were in love, and that he'd no right stealing another man's girl. Azaam had laughed in his face, and when Clint swung at him, had stepped back and hit him with his left hand flush on the chin, knocking him cold. That was an hour ago, and now his chin felt like he'd been kicked by a mule. He stopped to the baseball throw. 3 balls for a quarter. Fishing in his wallet, he laid a dollar bill down on the counter. They'd always said that Clint Perkins could throw a ball through the eye of a needle. He felt as if he could easily tonight. He let fly with all his strength again and again and again, toppling one stuffed monkey after another. Then his fury, still unspent, he walked off in the direction of the sideshow. Beneath the banner proclaiming the presence of the Grand Azaam, a large crowd had gathered. Clint got in line, bought a ticket and went inside. There were no seats left, and he had to stand in the rear. The band played a fanfare, the lights dimmed, and up on the stage, the Grand Azaam appeared. He bowed, acknowledging the applause that greeted him. Then he produced a slender sword, fully 20 inches long, and accompanied by the rolling drum, proceeded to swallow the sword inch by inch. Down his throat slid the gleaming blade, down, down, down into his stomach, until only the hilt was visible. The band struck a chord. The crowd cheered. At that instant, something shot out of the darkness in the rear, striking the Grand Azaam full in the stomach with such tremendous force that he doubled over. The point of the sword protruding from his stomach.
Death. Many of those are about death for whatever reason. So now you see what I'm talking about with those. It's like I don't know how to, it's like a scary, like jump scare, unexpected ending, twist ending novel, but condensed, really short, like 3 minutes or less. I have a couple, I have plenty of other ones of those actually that I will be playing throughout this show on the next episodes of that. So next Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m., expect more Sherlock adventures and more of those little fun clip things. Well, it's 15 minutes early, but I think I'll sign off. I'll leave you with some indie currents to play, and then I do believe that David Sears is coming in on his show, so you'll have a lot of fun with that too. So next Sunday, and then on Monday is when I do my music show, so if you're interested in hearing that, or if you've heard it before, I'll be doing that. That is from 8 to 10. Don't believe the promo. I changed it. 8 to 10 works infinitely better. So Monday, 8 to 10, which is tomorrow. I'll be doing Songs from the Archive Volume 5, because I have so many songs that I have gleaned from the Music Archive library on campus. So there you go. I'll play some tunes, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday evening. Bye-bye now.